Welcome back, everyone, to another wild and exciting episode of the R&R Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Jones, along with my co-host, who I am very pleased to introduce, the 12th wonder of the world, Russo-American Randy Watkins.
What up? We're back.
From outer space. Yeah. And I just walked in and find you with that dumb look on your face.
What do we do on here again?
From a long, long hiatus that I wish we could call a change of season 1 to season 2, but it is not. It was a long hiatus due to the birth of my son. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, happy, healthy, screaming. You know, everything a baby should be doing.
Going through like 10 diapers a day?
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. You can let him marinate for a while. You know, real get funky in there. You know, the worst case scenario, you just get some of that Dr. Boudreaux's.
Oh yeah, smither that butt paste on. You know, when we had our first child, we got like 10 tubes of that stuff, and I was like, man, are we gonna have a cream-filled baby? I'm never gonna go through this.
Yeah, 10 tubes. Huh, this will last through the apocalypse.
Now we're at like 20 tubes in.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Oh, yeah. Well, and get this. We even have a silicone butt paste spatula, so we don't have to use our hands.
Spread that butter.
Yeah, no, it gets on there real good. You just
especially a little boy. See, you know, I don't have the luxury of having a little boy. Or the fun of having a little boy like you do. So getting that stuff in there.
It's all fun and games until he shoots urine in his own eye. That was fun. Actually, the eye is the short range missile. But then once the Koreans got the ICBM, you know, he fires up and over his head, over the changing table, and straight down the wall. You know, there's that little sucker's got a strong prostate. Is all I'm gonna say.
It's like a 6 beer pee. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
And I hold it for 6 beers. Man, I could shoot it over the house.
Like Steph Curry in the finals, he drained it from downtown.
So I can vividly remember when my oldest daughter was born, she made it rain a chocolate fountain on the changing pad once.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
Oh, it was awesome. I was like, wow, that looks just like a chocolate rainbow. Well, now, congratulations.
Chocolate rainbow. Wasn't that a segment on Soul Train?
Oh. Everyone do the chocolate rainbow.
No thanks. Waiter, check please.
Well, congratulations to you guys. Happy first Father's Day too.
Oh man, I knew last year would be my last not a Father's Day. So it's exciting to actually celebrate the Father's Day and being excited about being a father.
Gives it real meaning, doesn't it?
It does. I know I probably don't sound very excited, but that's just due to the lack of sleep. You know, I feel like...
I was going to ask you what all the listeners want to know. Are you getting any sleep, Robert?
Oh, buddy boy. Yeah, I'm actually getting some. But yeah, getting...
You know, as a parent, I always hated that question because I was like, no, dipshit, I have a newborn at home. Of course I'm not getting any sleep.
No. What are you, crazy?
Speaking of, I think I hear my newborn crying upstairs right now.
Yeah, I could hear mine crying in the background. My dog had pushed open the office door because that's what she does because she's needier than that baby.
Nice.
Oh man, we got a lot to cover. I mean, some of this news is old news, but we got to hop in it and we got to do it quick.
Yeah, lots of P.E.D. suspensions while we've been out. There was a baseball suspension. I can't remember the guy's name, and a couple of football suspensions. And one of the most notable players was Julian Edelman. So the Patriots will be without their top wide receiver for the first 4 games. You know, Edelman's 32, and he was on the mend from a torn ACL. So,
are you telling me, Randy, that the spotless record of the New England Patriots is suddenly and so quickly sullied by there Julian Edelman?
Their golden boy. If it's not Brady, I would say he's next in line for that golden boy status.
Right? Brady sticking the syringe right into his perfect white keister.
With Robert Kraft on the other side.
Yeah, his alabaster ass. Well, Tom Brady's got Bob Kraft's face tattooed on his butt, and I'll let you figure out where the mouth is.
So yeah, this is like a weekly bit now, dude. So do we come up with a catchy name for weekly suspension news, or
how about P.E.D of files? No, that would never work.
That's pretty clever.
Love PEDs. We are PED files.
PED files.
I'm sorry, is that the FBI at my front door?
That sounds like what was the old courtroom show with Judge Wapner back in the day?
The People's Court?
People's Court. And the music. PED files.
Oh, no. Well, you have the title of the show there.
PED files. Yeah. There you go.
I guess we just have to do it. It will be a weekly thing now. It's interesting that all these guys are finally getting caught. I don't know if they've upped their game or if the players are just getting lazy.
Could be a combination of both. I think, being 32, we've talked about it before, these guys getting older, and he was coming off of a major knee injury, so he's trying to get back into it. So not only is he facing one pitfall, but now he's facing two, and his team is losing him for a quarter of the season. So big loss. That team struggled without him last year to fill the void, and now Amendola is gone. They've tried to replace those two guys, but haven't really done much.
Supposedly they're trying to get rid of Gronk.
Yeah, I was going to say that. The trade rumors have been coming out the last couple of weeks, leading up to the draft, apparently, which makes sense because he struggled to stay healthy himself. So, Patriots would be a different look. Lots of big sports news while we've been out. NBA Finals is some of the biggest news. I thought. Did you ever think LeBron would be swept 4-0?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, honestly,
really?
Okay, so you look at the Cavs. Who's their number 2? No, I mean, seriously.
I was stretched to say Kevin Love,
and even with that, the Cavs almost won Game 1. They almost won Game 3.
Yeah, they would have if J.R. Smith would have passed the damn ball to LeBron. Oh, man. I knew the score. I just chose to hold the ball and try and run 40 feet from the basket and take a shot.
See, and here's why. Here's the thing. I get that LeBron went back to Cleveland to heal that city. But Jesus, man, after you give them the title, adios. Bye.
Yeah. I can't see him staying, dude. I really can't.
He's
not after
2 more years. So, I don't know, man.
They just didn't build much of a team around him. So, and Golden State shot lights out. You talked about Steph Curry. You made mention of him, and if it wasn't him, it was Kevin Durant. And if it's not Kevin Durant, it's Klay Thompson. They've got scorers. I mean, that is the most well-rounded team I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. Easily you can say that. Yeah. Well, we've talked about this before. They benefited greatly from a good draft class and cheap rookie contracts.
Yeah. Really cheap rookie contracts. And they've all kind of, Durant's kind of hit the second stride of his career. Kind of struggled some out in Oklahoma being by himself with just Russell Westbrook. So, a very uneventful finals, I would say. I think the semifinals were better than the actual finals themselves.
I'll tell you what, though. I'm going to go ahead and make a bold prediction now. This is the last title Golden State wins with this crew. Yeah.
Really?
Let's look at it this way. We were one game away from Houston being them. They are not them. And this was a weak Houston. I mean, Houston's going to do more to rebuild this next year. And then you've got a rising Boston in the East that's seriously considering getting rid of Kyrie Irving.
Are they?
Oh yeah,
I have
there's all
not
sorts of
heard that.
contract issues with him. Yeah, the biggest thing that I've heard rumors is that Boston is actually interested in LeBron and that they could kick Kyrie to the curb to bring in LeBron. Is there anything funnier than that? Hey LeBron, I want to go build my own thing. Oh yeah, Kyrie, sorry about that. We want to build our own thing too with LeBron James.
Jesus. Man.
Hey Kyrie, I hear Cleveland's got a lot of cap room coming up.
You can go back and kick your tenants out of your rental property that you still have in Cleveland. Back to the Rockets, though, man. I was very frustrated by the series with Golden State, and the reason being was the inconsistent calls. Both sides of the floor were not being called the same. Rockets were without CP3 there for the last. Was he just out game 7 or game 6? It was game 6.
So the Rockets went up 3-2. So they just had to win one, and Golden State won.
Yeah,
the last two.
I felt like the Rockets were getting hacked on their side of the court, and were getting a lot of no calls. And Golden State, I mean, if someone farted in their general direction, then they were calling a foul. And it was like, come on, this is ridiculous.
That the NBA might benefit financially from having the same GD teams reach the final for the 4th time in a row. I cannot fathom that, Randy. I cannot fathom it. I refuse to accept that.
Oh. Yeah, I think we've talked about manufactured storylines before on this podcast, and I totally, looking at that game, one could see, especially if I were a Houston fan, how upset I would be that they were not getting the calls that they should have been, and it did make a difference in the outcome of the game because they had very close games. So it was very frustrating to see that as a fan of the sport, not even just for Houston's sake, but just a fan of the sport. It just, just frustrating. So, I was reading today, that there's a brewery in San Francisco that is advertising an IPA made with LeBron's tears.
That's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded.
That is really bad. Saying from his game 1 tears and frustrations, they have made quite the wonderful hoppy IPA.
Would you describe it as bittersweet?
I had to. Yeah.
Here's the thing that cracks me up about San Francisco. Yuck it up, San Francisco. Enjoy it. We're enjoying watching you pretend to like sports for a few years. You'll go back to misery in no time.
Yeah. I could see that a freight train coming to a screeching halt too. So, and the story also came out, dude. I don't know if you heard it, but I mean, I'm sure you had to. I know you had a lot going on, but LeBron breaking his hand in game 1.
Well, I mean, they took that game away from him. I mean, they took that game away from him. Cleveland had won that game, and that, you want to talk about cementing your legacy again. LeBron with no help. They almost took one away from Golden State at home in game 1. Yeah, that whole series would have been very different. I still think Golden State would have won, but I think that really took the wind out of his sails. And clearly, if LeBron legitimately broke his hand, if he's being honest, if he legitimately broke his hand and played 3 more games and put up the numbers he put up with a broken hand, damn. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Yeah, he was still first in minutes, first in scoring, and first in assists in the playoffs. And the stat that lends itself to our discussion here is that none of his teammates were even in the top 35 of the playoffs.
I really wonder, I guess on a little bit of a different note, how Steph Curry feels about Kevin Durant getting all these finals MVPs. Because I mean, Curry probably thinks of it as Curry's team, but Curry ain't getting lauded. And in fact, Curry didn't have a great playoffs. He did okay. He showed up a little bit in one game in the finals, but it was really Kevin Durant's show. I wonder.
Right. Which Kevin Durant struggled in some of the earlier ongoing series.
But that's the thing that's finals, so dangerous. 4 of their starting 5 are scorers. You know?
Yeah. Yep. It's Steph Curry, dude. Your coworker and I were talking about this. He hits the most ridiculous off the ball shots, like his positioning, the off the ball screens that he does, falling backwards, shooting sky high in the air. How do you defend that? The guy's just all over him, and he's still crushing threes. It was just insane to watch. It was like a video game watching him shoot. Sometimes I've never seen a release like
10 years ago. He had a very unusual release. But he
behind his head,
falling away. He intentionally stepped away and fell away, and he had the benefit of height too. But Dirk developed that style of shot, and it was very difficult to defend because there was no benefit to be you couldn't get close to him because he was just going to take a leaning step back. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He was a little bit of a beefier Kevin Durant type.
That's why I think Kevin Durant's benefited so much too. He has such a great jump shot.
There is something to be said though, and I do think there is some credence to it. They don't let guys play defense. Not really. Not like they used to. I remember Michael Jordan. I was watching him talk about how he used to play guys on offense and defense, and how he would put his hand on the guy's hip and grab the guy's hip. You couldn't do that now. You wouldn't be allowed to do that now. And he would talk about how he would literally shift the guy's body to get him off the ball. And it's like, there's no way. You just wouldn't be allowed to do that now.
No, that is a great segue to our next story. So him celebrating the 20th anniversary this week of the 98 finals, game 6 shot to win his 6th ring. He was walking around New York with a bottle
it's funny. A lot of people say that's baller. I call that alcoholic. See, that's what people do. That's what people do when they're at their lowest of lows. Yet he probably does it with a ridiculously expensive bottle of tequila. And Randy, I do want to point out, you said that was a convenient segue. It was not a convenient segue. It was a well-structured segue by an old pro such as myself.
Well-structured. Booyah! So, but if you go back and I watched a lot of video of it this week just to relive the greatness. He did push off.
Oh, yeah.
That would be a foul.
Can you imagine
today? He said I was a step by Byron, and I stopped and just gave him a little nudge,
a little tappy tap from a 6'6" giant. Excuse me, tip and tap.
And he had toasted him. He had toasted him anyways. He probably could have laid it up no problem. But typical Jordan fashion, he stops and pulls up just a beautiful shot. So, So apparently he is quite the tequila aficionado. So back in 2015, he showed up to the club with a $4,000 bottle of tequila. So this ain't no Jose Cuervo BS.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's, man, he balls hard. It's funny, though, as much as he's made off the Air Jordans, I'm sure he looks at LeBron's $1 billion shoe contract and is like, all right, I can respect that. Well, and we don't even know. We just know that it's north of $1 billion. That's all we know. Somebody asked how big the deal was, and they were like, "What is it, $1 billion?" Right. And the rep was like pointed up, like more than that.
Higher. He re-released his Air Jordan 14s too, and in celebration of the 20th anniversary. I'll have to look up what the sales did. I'm sure Jordan always has incredible sales off those shoes. So, Yeah, interesting stuff in NBA land. It's going to be an interesting offseason. You talked about maybe he ends up in Boston. I'm still sticking with LA, dude. I just really think he's going to be at the Lakers somehow.
If they can acquire Kawhi, that'll be more of an option.
Mm-hmm. Oh, two of them together. And if they bring in a point guard, a third, like if they send Lonzo Ball to the damn curve like he should be, bring in a real point guard, that team will be, Kemba Walker from Charlotte. Oh, that team would be insane with Kemba Walker. So we'll see. Hit us there with the next bit of news.
Let's see here. Got to find it on the page. Next bit of news. Okay, well, I mean, it's been a little while now, but the NHL Stanley Cup has finally wrapped up with the Capitals beating the what do you call them? The Las Vegas Golden Knights in 5 games, 4-1. In a really disappointing Stanley Cup.
Yep.
I mean, it's great for the Capitals, but it's insanely disappointing because every stage of the finals has been so good. And the Stanley Cup was just kind of a... it looked good. It looked like it was going to be it looked like they were trading tit for tat because they went 1-1, and then it was just all downhill from there for Las Vegas.
And then just all downhill from there to win the next 3 games. Surprised. And we talked a lot about the Golden Knights in previous episodes, and what an awesome season they had. But yeah, the Caps pulled it out, man. I was glad to see that. Ovi finally got him one.
Do you want to talk about Ovechkin partying like a monster for the last week? Have you heard any of those? Oh God! Well, I don't. I mean, people have already seen. I'm actually surprised you haven't heard about this. But like, he's been on a bunch of TV shows. They were drinking. He was on Jimmy Fallon. They were drinking out of the Stanley Cup. He's basically wasted at every public event he goes to. He threw out a pitch at a Nats game.
Wait,
I know, right?
Russian wasted.
He threw out the first pitch at the Nats game, and he sailed the first one because he was drunk, and they let him throw a second one. He's basically just been on a bender since they won.
Oh, that is awesome! I gotta look this up.
God, I mean, you could not classic. Air what he said at the parade on national TV. Quite profane.
Oh, really?
I mean, very positive. Yeah.
I think I heard a little bit about that. I don't think I heard what he said. So we had some friends that were there. They're still in DC. Wow. So yeah, congrats to the Caps bringing it home to the nation's capital. So yeah, that's good stuff. Great season. A nice inaugural season for Las Vegas Golden Knights. In fact, the Capitals took out a full-page ad in a Las Vegas newspaper congratulating them on their most successful inaugural season ever. So I thought that was really cool.
And hopefully it'll be a good storyline if Las Vegas can get back next year. It's good for the league.
Yeah, they very well could. Their defense was just smothering. I mean, I was surprised to see that they lost so easily in the finals because they had such a great defense on a bunch of scrubs, not scrubs, but a lot of
and come Stanley Cup next year, you and I might be able to bet on the game in our home state of North Carolina. That's some other big news. Has been the Supreme Court decision in regards to sports gambling in the United States. It makes it a states' right issue. So it has already been legalized in, let's see here, Delaware, New Jersey. There was somewhere else. Places that already had forms of gambling. But now they've expedited the process to allow sports gambling. Because, shocker, people like to gamble on sports.
Imagine that.
Yep.
It's happening since the dawn of time.
When one hobo was trying to beat to death the other hobo, you place bets. I'm pretty sure that's in the Bible. I think it's in the Bible.
Yep. I was gonna say Roman arenas when guys were beating the hell out of each other.
All right, next up.
So I want to talk about the Champions League final. I think you and I both watched it, right? You got to see Real Madrid and Liverpool go at it, and Real winning easily over Liverpool.
Yeah, they
3-1.
just whooped up on them. Ronaldo's been on fire, man. It's been great to watch him as of late.
Yeah, he has, and he looked really good in that game as well. Liverpool lost their best striker in the first half, Mo Salah, and they were, really upset about that. And then Benzema scored in the first half off one of the weirdest goals I think I've ever seen. Goalie picking the ball up and trying to throw it in, and he just kicks it. Kicks it right. It's right off of his foot. I've never seen a mistake that bad in
It was real bad.
Soccer. Period.
Yeah.
Real bad. So, and then Gareth Bale went off in the second half, man. One of the best goals I've ever seen. That bicycle kick was insane. Just like Ronaldo,
I made Bree come into the room to see that
about.
One.
Wow, dude, I was just like to run out like he did. Like you're running out that kind of an angle and then make that much that kind of a shot with that much velocity.
It had some English on it too. He put spin on it in the air. I mean, it was just a perfect shot. Yeah. It was not just a good shot. It was perfect because it was where the goalie had zero chance to stop it. And goalies always look so surprised when a bicycle kick happens. It's like, oh wait, he could kick it from up there.
It was a great game. I was really excited about the turnout, or the outcome, I should say. So, and then the goalie, man, I felt so bad for him, dude. I don't know his background or what kind of ability he has, but then, Gareth Bale hits a knuckleball at him.
Yeah.
Hits off of his hands.
He wasn't their starting goalie at the beginning of the season. Yeah. I mean, they were kind of punishing the starting goalie for poor performance. Thinking that this guy would be better. Well, this guy, if I remember correctly, had a couple games under his belt at the end of the season and done well, but not here.
Right. That was not his best performance, that's for sure. And then a week later, Zinedine Zidane quits.
Well,
Rio?
I believe Zinedine I have an answer for this. So he has won 3 straight with Real, but there's also some rumors about Cristiano Ronaldo going elsewhere, maybe even going back to Manchester United. We'll see.
Okay,
but if he does go, but if you are the head coach and you already know, but you can't say that you're losing your best player, maybe there's some motivation for a change of scenery. Listen, he's done it. He's won 3. You know what I mean? Like, that's impressive.
Right.
And so maybe it's time. Impressive. Hey, listen, I've mastered this here. Time to move on to something else. But it is great for Zinedine that he has been successful at all levels of the game. That's really impressive. And it's not easy to do because not every player transitions well to the coach or the manager, I should say, position.
Mm-hmm. I'm not really familiar with what coaching opportunities are out there or will be out there, but I'd say it's going to be pretty easy for him to slide into the next job.
If he really wants some money, he'll go to MLS.
Yeah. I don't see that happening just yet, though.
He can keep playing in Europe as long as he wants. It's just a lot of those guys, like if they want like less competition and a big paycheck, that's why they come to MLS because American teams will pay them ridiculous money to come play because they know the draw. We have the coach Zinedine Zidane who's won 3 straight, titles. it's a big draw. But yeah, he should stay in Europe. The real question is, where is he going to go? So it's whoever needs a coach.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the coach of Spain that got kicked out before the World Cup began because he revealed that he got the job coaching for Real? I think it was Real that he got.
I don't remember that.
Let's see.
Was that 2014 or 20? Well, it would have to be earlier than that, right? Or it could have been.
Yeah. So no. This is the new coach. So the head coach for the Spanish team, who was sacked right before the World Cup started. This was days ago. He revealed before the World Cup that he would be the new coach of Real Madrid, and Spain sacked him as the starting right before the World Cup. Right before the World Cup. Because they said he's clearly distracted and not dedicated to the team. What a Spanish mentality that is. And I'm sorry if you are of Spanish heritage, but talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. That is so dumb. That is insanely dumb. And it has hurt Spain already.
Yeah.
So
to even think for a second that he was not focused on the opportunity in front of him, more so that he was focused on coaching Real is absurd. That is absolutely ridiculous.
And clearly, man, talk about the Portugal-Spain game yesterday was phenomenal. That was awesome to see Ronaldo to have a hat trick against the Spaniards. Because the Spanish team, and the Spanish team is the much more talented team. Portugal has Ronaldo, but you'd be hard pressed to name another great striker in Portugal. So for him to go out there and score 3 goals against the Spanish side, that's just wildly impressive.
Yes. Yep.
Speaking of the World Cup,
Yeah, some good games so far. Uruguay won on the 89th minute against Egypt. That was a wild game, back and forth there until the end. Some other games this weekend, France outlasted the Aussies 2-1. And Mexico today, a huge upset against the defending champs.
See,
Deutschland.
I don't see that as much of an upset as Switzerland tying Brazil. I see that as the biggest surprise of the day. You know what I mean? Now, I mean, Mexico beat Germany, but they didn't spank them. It was a 1-0 sort of an affair.
They shut them out, though. Germany did not get really that many shots on goal. Their defense was incredible. But yeah, I mean, I did watch most of that Brazil Switzerland game. And they struggled to get the ball in the right spot. And I think Neymar was making some good plays out there, but
and
they just couldn't close the deal.
Brazil controlled the game. The time of possession was in Brazil's favor, but they weren't able to double. They only had the 1 goal, and so all it took was Switzerland to just find an equalizer, and an equalizer they did.
Right. Which game had there was back-to-back penalties shots this weekend? I was trying to remember. I think that was the France game.
All I know
wasn't
is
it?
That the only one that comes to mind is that Lionel Messi missed his shot against Iceland. Or rather, I should say the goalie perfectly predicted where he was going to put it. Talk about doing your homework. I mean, that was just brilliant. Again, Argentina drawing with Iceland. You've got Switzerland drawing with Brazil and Argentina drawing with Iceland, and it's like, what? What?
Brazil, I will say, they have just not been the same team that they were, 12 years ago? Eight, I venture to even say 8 years ago. I don't think even in 2010 they were all that good. I'm thinking more of the Ronaldinho days when they were actually really good. So what was that, 12 years ago? So, but still, there was a lot of hype around Brazil doing something this year. I mean, there was a lot of hype when they were in Rio.
And then Germany
for the
destroyed
World Cup
them
too.
They destroyed them in front of their home crowd, 7-2. That's a football score, Randy.
God, it was that much of a shellac.
7-2 is a football score. Oh man,
dude, I love the World Cup. I was out Saturday morning and I was getting primed for the what was it, 10:00 game that was coming on. That might have been the Argentina game. And I'm at the coffee shop talking to the guy that's the barista there, and I'm like, "So, you excited for the World Cup?" And the guy's like, "Is that going on?" And I was like, "Oh, jeez." Yeah, it is. He's like, "How long does that last? Like a day or two?" Like, no, a month. I'm like, "Okay, conversation over. Undo." This is not going so well. So obviously, not everyone is excited as I am or you may be about the World Cup, but I love it, dude. And when I heard that North America is going to land the World Cup for 2026, I was freaking stoked.
I'm excited. It's crazy that we have to rope in Canada and Mexico to do it because they're only going to be hosting a handful of the games. I think out of the 60 games, 40 games will be in the United States, 10 in Canada, and 10 in Mexico.
Wow. Only 4. Wow. And it's going to be in like freaking LA or New York or one of the big major metros, right? I mean, I can't see it being like, oh, we're going to play in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the Boston apparently is one of the sites that's included because Robert Kraft was involved in the development. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of places in play. I think there's 10 sites in the United States that are being groomed for it. So, yeah, like I said, they're playing 40 games in the United States. So that's it. Yeah.
Oh,
no,
I'm sorry.
No. 10 in Canada, 10 in Mexico, 40 in the United States.
40.
Yeah.
40.
So they will most likely have 10 locations, 10 stadiums.
I'm following
that they'll have 4
because I've already
games
told my family I'm buying tickets. My girls will be like
and the
9 or 10 years old.
The championship game, I believe, will be at the Giants Stadium in New York. Well, technically New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah,
was from
but
Joycey?
I think that's right. But yeah, it's exciting. It's good. It's been too dang long,
Yes, since 94, dude.
For God's sakes, it's going to Qatar. That's just I'm glad though that they changed the way FIFA votes on this because it was because of how corrupt the Qatar World Cup was awarded that they had to completely restructure it so that actual members of FIFA are the ones that vote. Of the 200 members of the 200 countries, the delegates from the countries that vote, that decides the location, not like the Supreme Council of 8 people who can absolutely be bribed.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Let's play in one of the hottest places on earth that still has slave labor. Cool.
Everyone loves traveling to Qatar this time of year. Tourism is at an all-time high, though.
People are dying to get in, Randy.
Man, that's bad. Yes. So, World Cup, man. I love this time of year. I'm very sad Team USA is not in it, man. They really, Bruce Arena really screwed that team up.
Jürgen Klinsmann, who was the head coach for 8 years.
Well, Arena was after him,
They just canned
right?
Klinsmann recently.
I thought Arena was after Klinsmann and Arena.
Interim, but let's see here.
Yeah, Klinsmann was last World Cup. You're right. I do know that. But he called it quits after the last World Cup.
Yeah, no, 2016 is when he was fired. So they still had 2016.
Oh, 2016. Okay. And then Bruce Arena was after that, right?
Which would have been him the second time. Let's see here. We've got Dave Sarachan as the interim right now. Let's see here. We can go to all the teams. Yeah, it was Bruce Arena. He was a coach from 2016 to 2017.
Right. So all the qualifiers, basically. I don't think they played any qualifiers in 2016. Maybe I'm wrong.
But you got to imagine Klinsmann had it for 6 years. That's really where the development for the next World Cup was from. So, and Bruce Arena had a team.
True, you're exactly right.
Coached from 98 to 2006. So, I mean, I think he was just a Band-Aid to try and stop the bleeding in the meantime. He had a better win percentage than Jurgen Klinsmann. He won almost 67% of the games he was the coach.
Yeah, he had Landon Donovan.
Yeah, well, Klinsmann could have had Landon Donovan.
That's true. Early on in his career, yeah. Or later in his career, I should say, right? Which I did not know this, but Landon's still playing.
Yeah, I had heard something about that. It's more. I don't know if he's playing full seasons, but yeah, he's still healthy. You know.
Yeah. He's in La Liga, I think.
Yeah, he's one of the
still playing. So he was donning a Mexican jersey this weekend, pulling for Mexico, even though he's Canadian, half Canadian, half American.
Frickin' turncoat.
Guess he's.
So
yeah, well, I guess it'd be interesting to see who Team USA. You say who was the interim head coach?
Sarachan? Yeah, I don't know.
No clue who that is.
But anyways, yeah.
Dude, if we don't make the 20, I mean, obviously we'll have another World Cup in between then and 2026. But if we don't make our own World Cup, how embarrassing would that be?
I know it would be insanely embarrassing. Take all this with a grain of salt. FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the world, and they've always had it in their craw to punish the United States when we've had a good team. The few times we've gotten deep, they're like, "Yeah, you're not going to do that again." It's this weird thing. The world is like. I guess what it is that the United States is good at so many things. There's this feeling of this is ours and you can't have it. I certainly know Europe feels that way. It's like you Americans don't understand, So.
Totally. Yeah, well, they grow up playing soccer or football, depending on where you're born. And in America, you grow up playing baseball and football. And I think once 2022 rolls around, hopefully the generations will be here that have actually grown up playing soccer. So the fact that it's gotten a lot popular over the last 20 years. So we'll see, man. Very frustrating though that they're not in this World Cup. So anyways, moving on. The College World Series is going on right now. Have you watched any of the
nope.
the regionals or anything?
I mean, I followed the teams that I liked, and then when my teams that I liked weren't in it, I wasn't following anymore. Of course, you're still following it because Chapel Hill is going in there. But
Tar Heels.
Yep.
They're in Omaha. They beat Oregon State yesterday. And they're moving on to the second round. They're going to play.
That's going to be a tough
Mississippi
one.
State.
Mississippi State's good.
So,
not that Carolina's not, but that's going to be that's going to be a tough game.
No, yeah, you're right. Mississippi State's very good. So we'll see. I think I heard a stat that the Carolina-Oregon State game was the longest 9-inning game ever.
I'll tell you what, Carolina has a history of it. I remember. It was Carolina and State a few years ago set a record in the ACC tournament for length of game. So that's just their style. That's just their style of play, man. Yeah,
wear them out.
But yeah, I'm all for Chapel Hill. So it'd be great to have an ACC team, definitely a North Carolina team. I'll get tired of Chapel Hill fans talking about it all the time, but it would still be good for the league and good for the area if they went all the way. Didn't Chapel Hill win a couple years ago? I thought so.
Yeah. Yep. Gosh, I can't remember. maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know. Time sometimes is a mystery. So,
yeah,
you're looking it up there.
Anyways, moving on to the next story.
I will go with 2010. They were champs in 2010 is my guess. In the meantime, we can talk about some NFL news to wrap up the podcast.
They have never won the College World Series.
Damn. Okay, so they made it.
They did it in 2006 and 2007. Randy, that makes me feel old as hell. Because that felt like just the other day.
Wow. Yeah, dude. Ugh. All right, so they got a really good team this year. So maybe this year is our year. Maybe
this is the year. All right, moving on.
So, big stuff coming out of the NFL while we've been away. They reached a decision on the flag protest epidemic. The statement by the NFL read, "All team and league personnel on the field shall stand and show respect for the flag and the anthem." That is how the NFL worded their edict, so that players who kneel during the national anthem will be fined. They can elect to stay in the locker room now, which obviously won't have the same effect, or camera time for kneeling. Do you like the call? What do you think?
It's good for business. I mean, they keep trying to hide the numbers behind this thing, but you know as well as I do. Just think about anecdotally the people we know who didn't watch the NFL last year, who actively boycotted it. Here's the thing. We don't need to get into the whole social justice side of the argument, but the fact of the matter is that Americans don't like the optics of it. It looks bad. And say what you want, it really does look like you're disrespecting the national anthem, because instead of honoring the moment, you're drawing attention to yourself. And it is a conscious thing. Mm-hmm. So I understand why the NFL did it, because they were being cooked. The owners were hemorrhaging money. The NFL's ratings were way down. And we're seeing TV markets across the board, unless you're talking about the NBA, which has gone up as opposed to a lot of other leagues. You're seeing a tremendous amount of leagues losing eyeballs, and then the NFL had a big problem. This last Super Bowl was one of the lower rated Super Bowls we've had. So I think it's a good move for business. And personally, I think if a lot of players want to do more, to raise awareness, I think that they can do things like finding out where injustice has occurred and asking for pardons and putting their money where their mouth is and helping with inner city programs and the like. I think that's a much better, easier time. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm getting off topic here. I guess it's a step in the right direction for the league, and it still allows players, if you want to quietly protest and not be on the field, you have every right to do so. The tricky thing that they get into is that they have made this decision and ratified it without dealing with the players' union.
Right. Which, that always goes over like a fart in church, especially with, what's his name at the helm, who gets himself involved in every argument. I can't remember. It starts with a D, I think.
Damari Smith.
Anyways,
he's the CEO of the Players Union.
That's right. Damari Smith? Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. So, they will definitely be involved, which I think the word on the street is none of them agree to it, and the fight's not over. Here's the
we'll
see how that shakes down.
Don't play. If the whole thing that they're pushing is they're trying to say, well, we're going to have hundreds of players who are just not going to show up, go for it. I dare you. You won't have a job next year. You won't. Or you'll be at a severely reduced contract, because if the owners lose a season and lose the money from a season, they ain't going to pay you. They'll hire scabs like they did before. They'll bring in cheap college talent who will play, and it'll be bad for the league for a year. But that's one of the things, unions always have a tendency to muck things up. And I'm not saying that the owners are all virtuous and every decision they make is good. No, what owners do, the decisions they make are money, and they're selfish because the decisions they make are to keep money in their pockets and, quite frankly, to keep the rest of their employees employed, because that's how everybody keeps making money. I don't know, man. I've gone on a diatribe. What are your thoughts? What are your honest thoughts about the situation?
Oh, I was very curious to hear about it. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I do see. I understand why they did it, even though it was for the wrong reasons. I don't know, dude. I guess I've struggled with my own personal belief of why, because I didn't see how it was. I guess I would say I didn't see that it was so disrespectful that I just, oh my God, I couldn't even watch the NFL. I love the NFL. I was very frustrated at the product last year. And I felt as a fan that it took so much away from the games and what the real focus was, that was the most frustrating part. I do feel like the NFL, you're exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head. They had to acknowledge it. This is their way of acknowledging it, saying, all right, well, we'll allow it. But if you do this, you've got to be in the locker room, which I don't think really was the answer. I almost wonder, what if, Robert, if they went into this next season and said anything, would people still be doing it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Was it dying out? See, I've heard that argument too. It wasn't dying out on its own. I think that's quite evident that people were still, even before this decision, were ramping up trying to get players not to play this season. That's escalation. So I don't think it would have died out because it was continuing to garner interest. And it may have not been garnering interest from the NFL. They were trying to squash it and not bring attention to it, but you'd see reporters on ESPN after the game, even if they didn't air the national anthem, would talk about who kneeled. It was like a kneelers watch every week.
Yeah, and it was also happening at the high school level and lower sports levels too. It's a trickle down effect. So these guys that's what they're seeing, and without getting into all this social injustice that they're representing. I've definitely been on the fence about it because of the right to protest. It's been a peaceful protest. However, it has really affected the brand and the overall product of the NFL that has been struggling, that they've commercialized the ever-living shit out of, and now they're struggling to put numbers up.
Right.
And it's very frustrating to see a game that you love be marginalized so much with all of the penalties, all of the whistles, all the slowdowns of the game, the commercials, and everything else. And then to throw the anthem on top of it, I think was just a coup de grace for a lot of people to say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't watch any games this year. And I understand that.
You know what you want, Randy? You want to pop a beer on a Sunday afternoon and watch 2 games, or 3 games if you have the time, and check out from all the crap you deal with in the rest of your week. Do you want to be reminded of all the woes of normal life when you're watching this game, a game that children play? It's escapism. And we watch it because we don't want to feel strongly about political ideals. We want to watch giants do giant things, do superhuman acts. It's a Greek battle, you know. Here are these bronze gods literally battling for arbitrary points, but for our entertainment.
It just you're exactly right. It is escapism. It is, you know, it's us and 2 average athletes, guys that just would give anything to have talent like that and be starting on Sunday, and who play fantasy football and enjoy it and have a good time. But then when you start seeing all these things add up, just like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, this past year was one of the most frustrating years I think I've ever had as a fan watching the game.
The product wasn't good. Like you said, the product wasn't good.
No. So I think there was no other way. I think, like you said, they weren't going to lose money hand over fist again without addressing the situation. So I was glad to see they addressed it. Hopefully it's the end of it and they'll move on, because I don't think they're going to get the camera time. But, is it going to move on to, well, who's in the locker room? We've got a camera standing by in the locker room, and these are the players that are standing here kneeling.
Number two, ESPN is desperate for clicks, so they will focus on anything controversial because ESPN, you want to talk about losing money, in the last 2 years, they have lost millions of subscribers.
And that's because they went political. They went over the wall political. And another thing, that's exactly another point about sports radio, is you want to listen to sports. You don't want to listen to politics. You don't want to listen to current affairs. And I'll tell you right now, dude, that was the end of Greeny and Golick. That is why they are no longer a show, because they politicized that show, Mike and Mike, so much. They lost so many listeners, including myself, who I listen to it every single morning. I could not bear to listen to it.
What's Greeny off doing? He's doing his own show where he gets to talk. You've got these guys like Keith Olbermann, who, was an ESPN guy. Then he goes off and becomes a political pundit. And then he comes back to ESPN. Then he goes and becomes a political pundit. And now he's back at ESPN. Like, we are tired of it. We don't want it. There's a reason why you keep getting fired. But anyways, we're getting down a little rabbit hole. But I don't think you and I are alone, and you and I are on the same page about everything political either. People need to understand that. This is something that all people who enjoy sports, it doesn't matter what your background in politics are, you just want to sit down and enjoy something. If I wanted to listen to political radio or political podcasts, I would, and I do. But I don't want that in every aspect of my life. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man.
And I think that was one of the main reasons why they lost so many fans.
Maybe that's the problem. If your politics are your religion, you need to be constantly indoctrinated by it over and over and over again. And so maybe it's the vacuum that fills the void of not having enough Jesus in your life, Randy.
Y'all need Jesus.
No kidding.
All right, well, we'll move on from that. So the last bit of NFL news, I don't know if you saw, but tight end Kellen Winslow Jr. was arrested yesterday on 9 criminal charges, including rape and kidnapping.
Yeah. He's a bad hombre.
I thought
that's despicable.
And I completely forgot when I looked up his stats that he actually played 10 years, because it felt like 4. Because he bounced from team to team, and it was usually because he had done something to get him kicked off that team or move on. And I just felt like he was a waste of talent, somebody that could have been so good. And then see this news story come out, I was just slapping my forehead like, wow.
I wonder if they're going to do an ESPN style intro for his prison shot. Like Kellen Winslow Jr., the University of Miami. Serving 20 to life.
Man, he's screwed, dude. 9 criminal counts.
Rape and kidnapping. Buried. Burn him. I mean, if he's innocent, then not. But I mean, if he did it, done. Just wait till he gets a big old bubble. They should put him in a deep South Georgia prison. You're my puppy now, Kellen. Come here. Hold my pocket.
That's right. Hold my pocket. Man. Hold the sliver of metal in your rib cage that I made.
Yeah, stab. Oh, God. No, rape and
shank you, boy.
Rape and kidnapping. He should fit right in. Those guys do pretty good in prison.
Yep. So I don't know if you had anything for Panthers Corner this week.
Nope. I mean, they just finished their OTAs, so I think it'll be 6 weeks off, and then it'll be back to practicing, getting ready for the season. But nothing major to report there.
Yeah, I always looking up stuff, and it seems like OTAs. OTAs have been quiet out of Carolina this year with some of their new additions. But I wanted to give a shout out to one of my high school friends, Jennifer King. for her new gig with the Carolina Panthers coaching staff. So I don't know if you got a chance to read the article, but
I did not.
It's a fantastic article. I would absolutely read it. It is written by ESPN, so I'll go ahead and throw that disclaimer out there. But no, she landed an internship. She's known Ron Rivera for years because she's been playing women's ball for the last 9 years. And it's just great, dude. I'm very happy to see that she's breaking through. Not only is she a woman, but she's also African American, and she has kind of paved the way in a sport dominated by men, really.
Yeah,
men coaches.
Really dominated when it's 99.9% of players and coaches.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
She's a statistical anomaly, Randy.
She definitely is. So she in a little tidbit in that article, she actually wanted to play for our high school, but her mom wouldn't let her. So when after we graduated and she went on to college, that's where she started. She was a quarterback and she was great. She threw up some crazy stats, but she never liked being quarterback. She always wanted to move to the wide receiver spot, and that's where she's been. Gotcha. She's been, I think, for the last few years. So it's really cool to see that not only someone that I went to high school with, I knew very well, but someone that is kind of carving her own way through the NFL and hopes to land a gig in the future.
I hate that she's your friend, and on the off chance that she might hear this podcast, I will withhold all of my tasteless jokes, Randy. I can't help myself. So what? So there's now a coach in charge of sandwich production, or
no. That's so wrong. I thought you would appreciate a Panthers tidbit coming from me.
No,
someone
I
who dislikes
the
Panthers.
I think it's great. And you're right. They do check a bunch of boxes with hiring her. Hopefully she actually is good for the position.
Yep.
I didn't even realize there was a women's football alliance. That sounds like a union group. We are the Concerned Women's Football Alliance of America.
There's women in there that would crush you and I.
Oh, there's always, yeah. I mean, Ronda Rousey would snap your penis off, Randy. That doesn't mean that all women would pick you up.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. What's left of it? But I mean, she likes it rough.
She wears it on her forehead like a unicorn.
You know what's funny is that everybody hyped her up, and then she got her butt handed to her twice, and it's like, well, she's gone. Let's go try out a film career.
That's because she put everyone and their brother and their mother in an arm bar, and she was making girls tap left and right. Yeah, and then she got kicked in the face, and that led to her demise until she had to join the WWE.
It's all fun and games until you catch a heel in the temple.
She couldn't box. I mean, for years, she touted herself as a kickboxer until she actually faced one and then got her ass handed to her.
Yeah.
And then twice.
She was a boxer.
Boxer. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Rowdy. Is that what they're touting her as in the WWE? Rowdy Ronda Rousey?
I don't know. They like Rowdy. Roddy
Piper. Yeah, with the same T-shirt style. And I saw she do body slam Triple H. I'm like, oh my God. I think that was at WrestleMania. Yeah. Her and Stephanie McMahon have had a feud or some BS. Oh gosh, so bad.
Well, if she was like Roddy Piper, finally it would be gender acceptable to wear the kilt. But now putting her up there in a skirt is probably sexist.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the fact that she looks like a man.
Oh, boom, 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 boom. Hey, listen, if you were shooting up that much beaver testosterone into your cooter, you'd look like a man too.
I remember when she did the ESPN body issue, and I was like, all right, I'll check that out. And I saw it, and I was like, ooh.
Hard pass.
Yikes. She married another UFC fighter too. Josh, what's his name? Oh, Travis Brown. He was a heavyweight. He's a huge dude.
Jesus Christ, that baby's going to be born with cauliflower ears.
Yeah, totally. Yes, not a sexy body, that's for sure, after seeing that magazine. Can't unsee that. So, with that being said, Mr. Joins, we still want to throw out there, I don't know if you've gotten any feedback on our bonus episode idea, but still want to do that.
Would still like to do it, but I haven't got any feedback yet. But of course, it was kind of your idea, Randy. So how about you talk a little bit about it? I don't want to take away your thunder.
Oh, no thunder to be taken. So we still want to have a special guest on our very first bonus episode. So let us know why you want to be the guest, what your topic would be about. So let us know. Hit us up on Instagram. Robert, why don't you run down how to find us?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you how to find us. You can find us on Twitter at CriscoCast. You can also find us on Facebook, Chrisco Industries. Don't forget to check us out on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CriscoCast. And if you like the show, you want to support us, you want to help us grow the channel, help us buy some new equipment, buy some beer, consider supporting us on patreon.com/Chrisco Industries for just 17 cents a day. You could really help us pay for the server space and grow the channel. And even less cents a day than that, you'd have access to all sorts of fun content. So there you go. Also want to give out a special thanks to our Patreon supporters, Adraxis, James, and Arcane Scroll. Thanks for supporting the show as always. We value every single bit. Helps us keep the lights on.
Thank you. Thank you. We can't forget Dave Grohl.
Yes. Praise be unto thee, you sweet, sick rock god. One day, we might actually have him on the show. That's a goal. We're going to have Dave Grohl on the show. The R&R Sports Podcast.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about... Oh, yeah.
Yes!
I think that about wraps it up. So, for Russo-American Rando Watkins, I'm Robert Jones. Thanks for tuning into the R&R Sports Podcast, and we will see y'all next week, we promise.
Go Hills!